Hey, I'm Jazz, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what to do when you don't know what to do. If you feel empty or overwhelmed, then you're in the right place. First of all, everybody feels like that. You're not special, okay? Everybody feels like it's too much. I can't do all of this. There's just too much going on. I have a life where I have my own business. That's a big job. I have my husband who I like to snog now and again. I have 3 children who want to be fed like 3 times a day. So I have a lot going on. And that's before I even factor in taking care of myself, which incidentally does come first. I'm often sitting down at night and one of my kids will try and talk to me and I'll say, Mummy's healing. I'm healing right now. I know it looks like I'm watching Netflix, but it's technically me recharging. So is it important? Is anyone bleeding? No? Then give me a moment. So when you feel empty, overwhelmed, and all of these are things that happen when either you perceive that what you've got to do is too much than the time you've got to do it in, which, you know, we feel like that all the time. Here are 3 tips. Here are 3 things that I want you to consider when you're feeling like there's nowhere else to go. The first tip is you can't argue with the laws of time and space. A friend sent me this recently and I cannot stop thinking about it because I think I've spent a long time, a large part of my life arguing. In fact, I don't even argue. I just ignore them totally, whack stuff in my diary and then end up feeling, oh, I've given so much, I've got nothing left. Not so much now because I have strategies, but prior to that. So the way not to do this is to, especially at work, is to say, okay, here's what I have to do, you want me to do, which is like, 9 hours of work. I've got 3 hours, so this is what I propose is the most important thing to do in those 3 hours, and here's the outcomes we'll get from that. Here's the other option for those 3 hours, which will give us these outcomes. I think we should go with this. Do you agree? That's an easy yes for a leader. It's telling ourselves the story of, well, I've got to keep going, and I've got to somehow, magic more time. If you could do that, you'd be, right. I guess you'd be sitting on the beach in Barbados and having your clone doing the ironing. That's what I'd be doing. Not that I do ironing anymore. Who's got time for that? But if you can not see a way of moving through, then that's great. That's fantastic because it means you've already got to the point where there is no way of going forward and doing any more. And this is a glorious moment for you to say, I've reached the end of my capacity. I've given everything I can. I've compromised to the smallest degree, and now I can go no further. So everyone else is going to have to move up. It's a liberating statement, but this running on empty is really important. It's really important not to do that. Which brings me on to tip number 2 when you feel overwhelmed. It's serve from your saucer, not from your cup. I love tea. I'm a bit of a tea aficionado. That might not be a thing. Well, it is because I'm it. I have lots of different tastings of teas. I have lots of tea rituals that I do. I have a tea temple, which is just a box with loads of tea bags in. And when everyone comes around, I'm always like, what tea would you like? Would you like my buttermint tea? Would you like some vanilla rooibos? Would you like? And they go, have you got PG tips? I just have builder's tea. And I secretly think, you pagan. But outwardly, I'm like, yes, of course. And I'm just like, stay with me, have tea with me. But one thing that I do insist on is that when we are drinking tea, we think about that analogy of a cup and a saucer. And the whole point is that you're supposed to pour tea into your cup. So it's full to the brim. And then it has that beautiful skin on the top where you're like, what's going to happen? And then it flows over. And you keep filling the cup up. So it keeps flowing so you can serve others and let them drink out of your saucer. But your cup stays full, because the moment you start giving people your cup to drink out of, you've got no tea left, and that is a crime against life. If you leave yourself empty, you can't help anybody. Like if you put everyone else, your family, your friends, everyone else before yourself, well, who's going to take care of them when you're lying in a bed on a ventilator in hospital? Because you just we're heading for burnout in that way. So that's the second thing. Fill from your saucer, not from your cup. It's the same as, you get on a plane and they say, put your own oxygen mask on first and then pick your favourite child. I think they say that's what I hear. There's a reason they're saying put yours on, because you are literally useless to us and you will get in the way if you are not recharging. So don't mess about with that. Make sure you're feeding others from your saucer. Here's the last thing. The last tip, tip number 3, if you're feeling empty and overwhelmed, and it's easier than it sounds, or is it easier? Does it sound easier than it is? cut yourself some slack. Take a day off from beating yourself up and indulging in comparisonitis. Getting on social media and looking at everybody's front stage and comparing it to your sat in your pajamas at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with egg yolk down your boob backstage. Stop doing that. Stop using other people's perceived success on social media as a whip to hurt yourself with. And we don't do it on purpose, we do it subconsciously, but this kind of, I know it's called doom scrolling, but I don't think it is that. I think it's comparisonitis. It's like I used to have an addiction to making myself not feel bad, looking at everyone else thinking, oh, my life's not like that, oh, I'm not that good, oh, they're so much better than me. It's like, who's hurt you that you want to continue going through making this story true that you're not enough? Cut yourself some slack. And how you do this is choose to go with fact over feeling. The fact is, ask people who you know and trust, what's the truth about you? What sort of person are you? What are your strengths? What are you good at? Why are they friends with you? Get the truth from people you trust. And then when you're feeling, I've got nothing, there's no point to me, measure that fact against your own feeling of I'm not enough. Sometimes you've got to go with fact over feeling. If it's got to be that what other people believe about you to be true, people you know and trust, not passers-by, people on Twitter who are like, yeah, I think this. And it's like, well, fortunately, I'm not responsible for your happiness, so you can think what you like. I'm talking about people who you know and trust. If they call you up, then you're going to listen a bit more than some random on Twitter who's feeling a bit sad and wanted to find a friend and doesn't really know how to do it apart from shouting at people. So be mindful of the fact that your brain is a liar. Your brain is trying to say, look, it's your amygdala wanting to move on, save calories. Stop thinking about it. It's your fault. Let's move on. That's my inner amygdala saying that to me all the time. And I'm like, slow your roll, honey. Not everything is my fault. In fact, very little is. So be mindful of the fact that you are not unique. And this should be comfort for you. You're not unique. It's what I remind myself. You're not special, Jaz. It's not all about you. Other people have got their own stuff going on. So you've got to go with fact over feeling. They are my 3 tips. And I'm not, when I give you these tips, right, these aren't things that I've read some of them in books in my own therapy and healing and coaching and master's degree. Yeah, I've read stuff, I read. But a lot of it is things that I have processed and put together. These are literally the skills that I've used for you to see this, pound shop Beyonce lookalike that stands before you today. I'm not, I'm not talking as if it's stuff that I hope will work. It's literally the reason I am able to stand on the truth about myself. And you can do it too.